Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Scribe, and today I'm going to be reading you a story called Owen. And this story was written by Kevin Hankes. So, before we start listening to our story, I want you guys to meet my teddy bear. And I've had this teddy bear probably since I was a baby. We used to go on walks together. I'd pretend he was my dog and put a little leash around his neck and walk with him. We'd have picnics together. We did all kinds of things together. Raise your hand if you have a blanket or a teddy bear or some kind of toy that you have had since you were a baby and is very special to you. Okay, it looks like we've got a couple of friends who do have something like that. Now, I want you guys to take a closer look at my teddy bear. Now, does he look like he's brand new? No, he does not. What are some of the clues that you guys have noticed when you're looking at him that tells you that he's probably not brand new? He's a little bit worn. His fur is not quite as fluffy as it used to be, yeah. So it looks like he's pretty well loved, right? What about your toy or your blanket? Is it brand new? No, you've probably had it for a while if it's special to you, right? Yeah. Well, the boy in our story, Owen, also had something that was very special to him, but he had a very special blanket, and the blanket's name is Fuzzy. Okay? So I'm going to tell you guys the story about Owen and Fuzzy. So we start out knowing that Owen and Fuzzy are the best of friends, and Owen has had Fuzzy since he was a baby. He's very important to him. They're very special to each other. They do everything together. Owen likes to use Fuzzy as a cape and pretend that he's a superhero. He also likes to cover himself up with him, pretend that maybe he's invisible. And they have picnics together. They go on walks together. They do everything together. Owen and Fuzzy are the best of friends. But Owen's parents start to think, you know what? I think it might be time for Owen and Fuzzy to, separate a little bit. Maybe they shouldn't hang out all the time because Owen's going to be going to school soon and we want to make sure that he's not carrying Fuzzy to school. So they're thinking about it and they're trying to figure out what to do. And one day they're talking to their neighbor whose name is Mrs. Tweezers. And Mrs. Tweezers said, "Well, have you heard of the blanket fairy?" And Owen's parents are like, "The blanket fairy? No, I haven't heard of that. What's that?" And she tells them all about it. So that night after dinner, Owen's getting his bath and he's getting ready for bed. He and Fuzzy are getting all set. And Owen's parents say, "Owen, we have some exciting news. Tonight, the blanket fairy is coming." And he's like, "The blanket fairy? What's that?" And they said the blanket fairy comes to the houses of little boys and little girls who are too old for their blankets. And all you have to do is leave your blanket under your pillow. And that night, the blanket fairy comes and she takes your blanket. But in its place, she leaves a fabulous new toy. So you get this brand new toy. The blanket's gone, but that's okay because you have this new toy now. And Owen's like, I don't know about that, but I'm going to think about it. Maybe that could be fun. I could use some new toys. So Owen's getting ready for bed and he's thinking about it and he's like, no. So he takes Fuzzy and he hides him under the covers so that nobody can find him. And the next morning he goes down to breakfast and he says, "No blanket fairy." And Owen's parents are like, "No wonder." So life continues on. Owen and Fuzzy are still the best of friends. They hang out all the time. They do everything together. Owen's parents are still a little bit worried, though. So one day, they're talking to Mrs. Tweezers again, and she says, "Have you heard of the vinegar trick?" And they're like, "The vinegar trick? Nope, we haven't heard about that." So she tells them about it. And that night, when Owen isn't paying attention, his dad sneaks Fuzzy away, and he takes Owen's favorite corner of Fuzzy and dips it in vinegar. Do you know what vinegar is? Does it smell very good? Does it taste very good? No, it doesn't. So he gives Fuzzy back to Owen, and Owen is like, "Ugh, that doesn't smell very good, and I can't chew on it anymore because it tastes gross now." So he takes Fuzzy and he goes out to the garden and he digs a hole and he buries Fuzzy in that hole and taps the dirt down to make sure he's all covered and pulls him back out. He's like, "Good as new, no problem." And Owen's parents are disappointed, but Owen and Fuzzy are back together again. They're still playing and hanging out all the time. Now, it's getting really close to the beginning of the school year, and Owen's about to go to school, and do you think he can bring Fuzzy to school with him? Probably not. Do you guys bring your toys to school? No. So, Owen's parents, they go to Mrs. Tweezer's and they're like, do you have any other ideas? We don't know what to do. And Mrs. Tweezer says, have you ever thought about just saying no? They're like, So, Owen and his parents that night, they're talking, and Owen's like, Fuzzy has to come to school with me. He's my best friend. We can't go anywhere without each other. And Owen's parents are like, no. But he's my best friend. He has to come with me. No. So Owen's crying, and he's so upset. He doesn't know what to do. Fuzzy's his best friend, and he has to go to school with Fuzzy. What is he going to do without him? And he's crying, and he's so upset. And his parents are like, gosh, we don't want our Owen to be so sad about this. And they're thinking, and all of a sudden, Owen's mommy has this brilliant idea. And she takes Fuzzy, and she starts to cut. And cut, and cut, and snip, and snip, and snip, and snip. And she gets out her thread and her needle, and she starts to sew, and sew, and sew, and snip, and sew. And then after that, in the end, she shows Owen that he has all of these brand new handkerchiefs. What do you do with a handkerchief? Use it to blow your nose. Use it to wipe your eyes if you're sad. You just use it to snuggle with because it's soft. She turned Fuzzy into a bunch of handkerchiefs. Now, do you think you could fit this handkerchief in your pocket? Could you fit it in your backpack? I think you could. So, do you think that Owen might be able to take this to school instead? Yes. So from then on, Owen and Fuzzy were never separated. They were always together. Owen always carried a piece of Fuzzy with him. The end. Now, were you a little bit scared for Owen and Fuzzy when you started hearing about his parents wanted to separate him? Yeah, I was a little bit scared too. Do you think this was a good solution to the problem? Absolutely. So, if you have a toy or a blanket at home that you really love, do you think you need to take it to school with you? Probably not. Do you think you'd want to cut it up? Maybe depending on what it is. Do you think that maybe instead you could keep that special thing in a special place where you could come home to it every day? Yeah. Do you think you could keep them on your bed so you could cuddle with your teddy bear or your blanket when you get home? Or keep it in a special place in your closet so when you're scared you could always get it out? Yeah, because as we get older, we probably don't want to carry those things around with us all the time, but we still want to keep them just in case we need them. Very nice. You guys did an awesome job today. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope that you come back next week and listen to another one.